Welcome back, everybody, to the Power of Story podcast. If you're listening on Thrive After Sports, thank you for tuning on there. It's your boy, Taj Dashaun. I'm joined today by my man, Jelani Jenkins. What's going on, Jelani?
What's up, man? Glad to be here, brother.
Hey, man, it's a pleasure to have you. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Glad we finally made it happen. For those of you who don't know, Jelani is a former NFL player, former linebacker. He's now a mindset coach. We're going to dive into his full story. He has an amazing story, which is why I wanted this man to come on today. You might want to take notes. He's going to share a lot of wisdom with you, not only about the transition, but how you can really carve out a lane for yourself, how you can give back, how you can be a contribution to something other than sports, and how you can map out a life for yourself and how you can thrive after sports. So with that being said, we're going to dive right in. Jelani, man, you had your career in the NFL was 3 or 4 years, right? Did I get that right?
Five, but
five. Excuse me, bro.
It was 3 or 4 that was very meaningful for me, I would say. I was with the Dolphins.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. And then how did your career end? Was it kind of like abrupt, or did you know that it was getting to that point? What was the transition out of the NFL like for you?
Yeah, man. So after my 4th year, I started with the Dolphins and played there 4 years. And that last year with the Dolphins, my 4th year, I had a lot of injuries. Had a really bad knee injury. I remember the trainer with the Dolphins told me that it wouldn't really get back right to normal, and that I would have to be in the training room all day pretty much. And so after that, I ended up going to the Raiders and the Texans. Between that 4th and 5th year was when my mind started to slowly make its way out. That was when I started to really see myself outside of the NFL and football. That was actually like my first off season. So my first 3 years, I went back to school. And so I was still like involved in some kind of structure. After that 4th off season, that was when I actually had time. And so I was like getting into the camera. I was getting into different things. That was when I saw myself outside of football. So I would say I started kind of making that transition. And that last year with the injuries, a lot of stuff was happening with the whole kneeling situation. I went to the Texans. The first day I was there, the owner said something about inmates running the prison. And that turned me off. And then just a whole lot of different things, injury, politics, a lot of situations kind of led me to want to see what life was like outside of football.
I remember that statement coming out, man, about the inmates running the prison. I didn't realize you were on the team at the time.
I was there for 2 days. I had gotten there like week 5 or week 6 or something like that. I started the year with the Raiders. So
right. Yeah, man. And you were one of the people who was taking a knee. Of course, you know, Kaepernick is the one who gets the credibility for doing it first and all that. But you were one of the people from the jump who was out there really taking the stand and doing that, man. What was what was it that made you get to a point where you were like, something has to be done? I want to have a voice in this, and I want to take part in this peaceful protest. You know, make a statement.
Yeah, that first year in the summertime was when I think it was like 2 weeks in a row. There was like 3 killings, and I remember nobody really got a chance to like breathe. It was like back to back to back, and I just remember feeling like not knowing how to respond, knowing I had the platform, knowing just from my family history, knowing that, you know, civil rights has always been big in my family, and I've always looked at life in terms of like, how can I better my community? So I knew I had to do something. And then that preseason game, Kaepernick took that knee, and I remember Arian Foster, he was with the Dolphins at the time, and I remember he brought it to the team. Like, he said he was going to do it. And me, Michael Thomas, and Kenny Stills, we all were the other 3 who were like, yeah, this is absolutely how we want to respond. We want to be, have our name next to that, because we stand for that. And, you know, I wanted to write something out afterwards to share why I did it, and just get the conversation going. And I just wanted to be a part of that.
That's awesome, man. Hey, well, props to you for doing that, because obviously it's not like, you know, a lot of people may have shied away from doing that, you know, with the possibility of risking their careers on the line. But the fact that you decided that you taking a stand against that was more important than any risk associated with your career, man. I don't think that's a fact that should be overlooked. So props to you for taking that stand, brother.
I appreciate you. I appreciate it, brother. I definitely I had a village at home who had my back, so I knew I was supported.
That's right. That's right. I wanted to talk to you too, man, about the fact that you say your mind almost started looking at retirement before your body did. Like, was it from a point of, because I hear even at a collegiate level, right? You know, I work with a lot of collegiate athletes, and I know you do a lot of work with former professional athletes. Even at a collegiate level, a lot of former athletes, even if they don't know what they're going to do next, they start to get to this place where they lose the passion for the game. Would you say that at that point where your mind was looking afterwards, was it more so, okay, I know this is going to end soon, I want to get prepared? Or was it more so, I'm kind of like losing the passion for the game? Or was it a mixture of both?
I think it was a mixture of both, more so the first one. Like I found myself just seeking other passions. Like growing up, I was big into art. My father was an architect. So I kind of found that inner artist in me throughout that off season with the camera. So I fell in love more with that. And then when it comes to the surrounding aspects of the game, like I said, the politics, just the way my body was reacting was a lot to really make me think, okay, is this, I'm thinking ahead of like, do I want to always have a knee that doesn't straighten out all the way? You know, different things like that started to cross my mind. And then I think going into football, I always saw life out after football. I always saw football as like a means to something greater. And so I think it was kind of something where I felt my spirit kind of calling me for something greater, something different, something new. But you know, every now and then I look back and say, okay, should I have stayed a little bit longer, just like everybody? But
right.
You know, it was something at the time that I felt really strongly about. So and I don't regret it at all.
That's what's up, man. And then so did you immediately, you know, you say you like being creative, being an artist. Did you immediately like, okay, I'm gonna just start picking up the camera and start creating, or did it take you some time to adjust to get a rhythm going? Like, what was it like from the day you retired to starting to carve out that new lane for yourself and build? What was like the next steps? What'd you start doing?
Yeah, bro, you know what's interesting is because I kind of had some trauma with football and sports, I left the game really holding on to that hashtag of more than an athlete, but I was really running away from my inner athlete. And it was very difficult for me to like watch sports on television. So I was excited. I felt like I've been in a box my whole life and I had the rest of the world, I had the whole world in front of me. I was seeing things differently. So I was kind of sporadic. Like I loved music, I loved film, I loved drawing. So I was kind of just trying different things. I was on YouTube University heavy, just learning and growing and seeing the skills increasing and growing. But after a while, I realized, one, in a lot of ways, I was escaping from some of the stuff that I still hadn't dealt with. One main thing being that inner athlete. I was smoking a lot of weed at the time, and you know, I'm not opposed to cannabis at all, but the way I was using it was to escape. I was playing video games every day, you know, heavily, you know, and I just wasn't really present. And you know, it wasn't until I started. There was a specific moment where my wife, she took a picture of me from this Polaroid camera, and I was in front of the game, had the headphones on, had the big old bong in front of me, had like 3 plates that were finished right here, had clothes everywhere. And it was just one of those eye-opening moments for me, like, wow, okay, there's something not right here. There's something I'm not really addressing. Because you couldn't tell me at the time that I wasn't happy, that I wasn't right where I was supposed to be. But it was because I had gotten really used to coping. I got really used to not being present and learning how to do that. So I would say it took me a little while to kind of get that creative juices going, but over time I realized that there was more of me that I needed to incorporate in my life to really be fulfilled.
Wow, man. Hey, thank you for sharing that part of it, man. Cause that's, I think what you hit on right there, and you and I had a conversation about this the first time we spoke actually, is that it's so easy to fall into that trap, like you said, where you feel like, hey, I'm happy, like everything's great. When in reality, a lot of us during that transition phase, we're numbing ourselves, you know? I was doing the same thing, man, smoking, drinking, didn't want to go get a job. I wanted to make beats. Like, you couldn't tell me I was not going to be the next Pharrell. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? As a hobby or a passion, but to be like, I'm just going to go from football to being a producer, like, you might want to do some inner work and look at other ways you can make a contribution besides music and, sports and all that. But
100%.
You brought up this term, man, inner athlete. I love that, because I feel like, I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I feel like you being able to tap into that inner athlete was like a healing process, right? So you could channel that into other things, more productive things besides smoking weed and video games. Am I right on that one?
100%, man. That inner athlete, I think of it like, what were the things about being an athlete that I valued and cherished most? For me, it was the competition. It was the camaraderie. It was like the mental aspect of the game. It was putting in the work and seeing the results. And for me to completely leave that athlete version of myself, even though I was able to incorporate that in music and film for what I was able to do, there was still a large part of me that still needed that. I wasn't like working out the same. I was growing a belly. Like, I had to get to know my body all over again. And that took some time. But that inner athlete, it's what helped me. It's what helps you get to where we are, and so to leave that behind, we're shortchanging ourselves, so I truly believe that.
That's huge, man. I'm really glad you touched on that too, because I think a lot of times when people talk about transitioning, it can be easily interpreted as you have to let go of that former self, versus what you're saying by tapping into that inner athlete. No, you don't let go of it. You honor it. If anything, you cultivate it more and figure out how to apply it to something different, which is exactly what you did, man. So what was next for you? Like, how did you, and obviously it's been a lot of steps, man. I definitely want to get to what you're doing now, but I don't want to overlook the journey to how you got there. Like, what was the next steps for you once you saw the Polaroid and you're like, nah, man, this ain't it. I got to figure something out. What did you do next?
Yeah, I picked up some self-help books. I was already kind of reading a bit. I was reading a lot. A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle was a huge one for me. Huge.
That's fire.
Transformers by Jacqueline Small. Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. Maximum Achievement by Brian Tracy. Those are all books I can remember that specifically got me tuned into like mental health. And when I started really putting stuff on paper and like new goals, and I started really getting into like the power of the mind, I saw like that next year, like I stopped 2000, I went into the first offseason 2018. That next year, 2019, all of a sudden I got like free tickets to a Tony Robbins event, which led to like an internship opportunity. And I fell in love with the atmosphere of the Tony Robbins event and like what that means. And he was teaching the power of the mind. And so my life just started to shift, and I started to just get momentum, and just got we walked on fire, you know what I mean? So I just started learning and teaching myself. But I think the main step that I started doing that really helped cultivate that awareness was meditation. That's the main thing. I started meditating. My wife, she went to Bali for a month to get her yoga certificate as a teacher, and so started getting into yoga more. That mindfulness piece was really what helped me become aware of where I was at.
Man, that book list, by the way, for anybody listening or watching this video, go back and listen to that book list, because that was some fire books that Jelani just listed off, man. Those are all heavy hitters, especially Eckhart Tolle, man. That he came out of left field, man. I was reading his book when I was going through the transition too, and that really put me in a frame of mind like, whoa, I can observe my own thoughts. And that's a game changer, especially in New Earth, man. That is, I feel like there's a version of me before I read that book and a version of me after I read that book.
Exactly. Same here, bro. Eckhart Tolle, he really helped me to see where my own ego shows up. And there were a lot of times where I felt a victim to certain things, and would take things personal and not see any faults in that. But that book showed me, even taking something personal, even being the victim in a certain situation and really holding that significance in that moment is your ego holding on to that. It blew my mind, bro. It really restructured everything for me.
Right. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
bars, man. I wanna backtrack for a second because I definitely want to hear what happened after, the wife comes back from Bali. She's got the yoga cert. You're starting to dive into more meditation and yoga. That's major. But I wanted to ask you too, while you were going through the transition, were there any resources like because I haven't talked to a lot of guys about what the transition out of the NFL is like. Are there resources? I know there are some, but how is it as far as like getting those resources in front of guys that are leaving the league? What are those resources like?
That's a great question. You'll ask some people who are really tuned in, and they'll say it's all over the place. It's everywhere. You just got to look for it. If you're not looking for it, you don't see it. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think they're there. And I'm sure they do everything they can to get it in front of people. I won't say that they don't. In terms of like the NFLPA, different organizations, I'm sure they do. I just recently interviewed 55 former athletes, not all NFL, but very little of them knew of any resources out there available for them. So maybe there's something more that can be done. Like I said, you talk to some guys who are really tuned in and they say it is there for them. So I personally, I did not really know of all the resources available. And I think part of it, really running away from that inner athlete, it wasn't even in my circumference because I was running away from that whole aspect of myself subconsciously. So I didn't take part as much in the resources that were available. I had people in my network, like the director of player development for the Dolphins. I had him in my network, so he is the one who helped me get in contact with the guy who got me an internship in New York and who also got me the tickets to the Tony Robbins event. And that guy's still a mentor for me now. So it's been individual resources that I tapped into.
Got you. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. Because I've heard it both ways too, where there are resources and whether or not the resources are adequate is a different conversation. But as far as awareness or being like, okay, now that you're done, here's your list of resources and, or here's someone reaching out to you.
Yeah.
Because we both know at a collegiate level, that's non-existent for the most part.
Yeah, man, it's tough.
And then on a professional level, right? I was just curious what your experience was, but that makes a lot of sense, man. But okay, back to the journey, back to the tale of Jelani Jenkins. So you start diving more into meditation, yoga, all those type of practices, which have obviously calmed the mind, help you process some emotions and stuff like that. How did you decide? How did you get to a point where you were like, all right, I want to start giving back to people and helping people overcome some of the obstacles that I had when I was going through the transition? How did you reach that point?
Yeah, well, okay. So with that inner athlete, with that athlete experience, when I really started to dive in and reflect and find gratitude in those moments and think about like what got me to where I was, a lot of it had to do with my upbringing, especially from my father. Both of my parents are huge in my life in terms of support. My father, he was kind of my unofficial mindset coach. And my father, he would just teach me affirmations. He was that voice in my ear that was constantly like, they can't stop you, Jelani. They can't stop you. Every time you touch the ball, you're supposed to score. Every time you touch the ball, you're supposed to score. And he taught me these affirmations to like repeat before games. And I remember like going through my career and mentally, just in terms of my confidence in myself, it was kind of a different ball game for a lot of people. There were athletes who were better than me on the field. There were athletes who could do things that were bigger than me, stronger than me. But their mindset had thrown them off along the course of the way. Looking back at that and seeing how mindset helped me in my journey was really what got me wanting to kind of be a mindset coach for others as well. And it started with the youth. So I had a football camp back at home and I had a camp and I called it Mind Body Sports. And I had them all, we gave them like regular t-shirts. Usually I had camps, but I would give them like a Jelani Jenkins t-shirt. But that particular year, I gave them like a blank t-shirt, put them on teams and let them like write affirmations all over their shirt, and taught them what affirmations mean. And so it started with the youth, and then it kind of got to a point where I wanted to do it. And I created kind of something that I used to help me in my journey from my transition, but incorporating all that mindset stuff as well, incorporating the meditation that helped me out, incorporating how to train your awareness with that, incorporating like visualization and visualizing your future so powerfully where your body feels it and believes it to be real, and affirmations. And so all of those things came into one big old ball, and I was able to look at it and say, okay, this is like all of me. This is like my spirit in a ball. Let me channel this into what I want to do next. So
right. That's powerful, man. And you mentioned that you interviewed, you said over 55 former athletes, right?
Yes.
I think that that's huge, because I feel like a lot of people, when they're looking to do something, they just create something that, okay, this is what I have, and then they try to bring it out and share it with people, versus like, no, let me go to the people that I'm looking to serve and ask them what do they need, and then create from there. I think that that's a really important step, man. Is that something you learned, or did you just kind of know like instinctively to do that? Or
no, it wasn't instinctively at all. I invested in my own coach. I invested in my own course that helps coaches be able to, create their legacy business online. And that was one of the steps that they talked about, was reaching out and really creating your first audience, but asking them for, what they need, what would they want in the course, like what were their biggest frustrations with the transition, what books did they read to help them through the transition. So now I have a list of like 150 books based on all of these interviews that help people through their transition, that is now like on the resource section of my course so for people can dive into. So it was really just something that no, I didn't think of it on my own. It was actually a blockage that I really got over, and that was asking for help. And I think I spoke about that earlier, about the ego of me not really diving into the resources or thinking that I can do it all on my own. The kind of that competitive athlete in me is like, you could do it on your own. You could do it on your own. You were in the backyard doing ladders by yourself. You train, you get big, like, how to do it. But this year, 2020 was very collaborative for me. It was very much so asking for help. And that was a big thing.
Yeah, man. I love that. I think that's so important for not just former athletes to hear, but for anybody to hear. Like, you can't do anything on your own, number one. And then you have to invest, not always financially, of course, financially too, but you have to invest, whether it's time, resources, finances, whatever, into yourself if you want to grow. I did something similar, man. Like, when I first started coaching, I invested in a course that was basically designed for coaches. And that was one of the things that had me do. And I had been kind of unofficially coaching beforehand. So what I did was I I kind of like went back and asked people what they needed, put together some stuff, tried it out on them just to like perfect what I was doing. So when I saw that you were doing that, I thought that was really dope. And I was one of the people that you interviewed. Shout out to Haley Johnson, if you're watching this, for setting that up, Haley J. What I thought was really what I enjoyed most about that first conversation we had is the depth of questions you were asking. Like, it was clear that you weren't just focused, I'm building this thing, I want to help people, so I'm trying to gather some intel. Like, you're so focused. And I could tell just based on the caliber of questions and how many questions you had too. It wasn't like it was just 2-3 questions. Like, we were for an hour, and your questions were so in depth that it was clear that you were looking to build the best solution. Any experience been like, man? I know you actually just launched on Monday, right? The 25th, you officially launched?
Yep. Monday was the first day.
What's some of the feedback you've been getting? Just how's the product in general?
It's going really well, man. It's something that I've been thinking about for months and months and months and months. So, it's so dope seeing it finally come to life, seeing, the feedback. Everyone involved, they all reached out to me after the first day, said they loved it. Can't wait to see the rest of it. Can't wait to be a part of the rest of it. I have some guest coaches and some guest speakers that have come on and help out as well. They're excited about it. And I think for me, man, it's just been there's been so much growth through the process. Like I said earlier, like that idea of asking for help was a blockage that I overcame, and feeling that growth inside of me and seeing how it's led to so many blessings. It's just been fantastic, man. I'm excited to I'm excited to continue to lead them through the process, bro, because it's like I said, it's all of me, but geared towards exactly what they need in this moment. And I feel extremely confident after all of that research that this is exactly what's needed, you know? So it's been great, man.
It's a beautiful thing, man. And I know you probably can't dive into everything, otherwise we'll be on here for another couple hours. But just from a high level view, like
Yeah,
what is the program about? What is the
yeah.
just like the high level structure of it, just so people know?
Yeah, so it's called the Athlete Purpose Playbook. It's designed to help athletes find passion, find purpose, and fulfillment beyond their athletic career. As a mindset coach, my whole goal is to help people train their minds, help athletes in this case train their minds so that they can achieve their goals quicker, easier, with more fulfillment. So the course is broken up into 3 sections. The first section is self-discovery, is really where I help them really connect with their intuition and their vision beyond athletics. The next phase is preparation, and that's really like the training camp of it. That's really where they dive into the actual internal work to really align themselves into that greatest version of themselves, that identity that they see for themselves, that they've discovered in the self-discovery section. And then the final section is impact. And that's really where we learn how to leverage their greatness, leverage their gifts, all the things that they worked on, and leverage their resources in order to really build a plan where they're able to impact the people who need them. So it's a 10-week course, it's 10 modules. There's also a private Facebook community for everybody who enrolls into it, so they're able to network with other athletes and continue to support one another. Like I said, there's resources. There's a resource section with all those books. So we have like a book situation happening where we're going to continue to have like conversations and discussions around certain books, and then also business resources, opportunities for mentorship opportunities, and different things like that. So that's kind of the high level aspect of it, and we just dive deep, man.
And I love that you spoke on that it's geared towards impact, right? Because
Yeah.
it's one thing, it would be one thing for you to come to the former athletes and do some coaching with them, take them through the program and say, hey, I'm gonna help you figure out what you want to do. Like I'm gonna help you figure out what you want to do for your life and carve out your own lane and
Mm-hmm.
find fulfillment and purpose and all that. That's one side of it, and that's great. I'm not knocking that. But the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you're taking it a step further is the key, man. I feel like that's why I vibe with you from the first call. Like, yeah, you're about impact. How can you,
Yeah.
build the next generation of leaders and teach people to go out and actually have an impact on the world and on the communities that they want to serve, like you said, man. So props to you
Absolutely.
for putting that together. I think that's major.
Appreciate it, man.
Yes, sir.
It's
Yes,
all
sir.
about
And
service, brother.
it's clear that you're at a point, man, where you're inspired, and that's obviously the goal for any former athlete, just people in general, really, is to wake up and be able to pursue something every day that they're excited to get out of bed and do. And it's shining through, man, even by the way you talk about the work that you're doing. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
clear that you found that. And you and I both know it's a lot of people out there struggling with that. These are the people that we serve. What advice can you give to the athlete right now who is just lost, man? They have no idea. They don't know what they want to do. Maybe they're still hanging on to hopes that they can still play. But bottom line is they know it's time to carve out a new lane for themselves. They just don't know even where to begin. What words of wisdom
Yeah.
can you share with that person?
I would say start with the internal work. I mean, that was the biggest thing for me, the internal work. And that starts with meditation. Meditation is really training your awareness. That's really the key of it. It's training yourself to be aware of yourself, aware of your thoughts, aware of your emotions, aware of your choices and your actions and where they lead to. And so starting with that internal work is huge. I love what you said about feeling inspired and waking up every day. That's really the whole point of what I do and what I teach, is to help people feel like it's game day every single day. And that comes with practice, and that comes with building the habit of feeling great, the habit of feeling appreciation, the habit of feeling joy. And there's something that everyone can tap into right now and be appreciative of. And if you can learn to just build that habit every day, make a gratitude list, make an appreciation list, and experience it, whether it's through visualization, through meditation, writing it down, watching your favorite movie, but feel appreciation consistently, and you'll build the habit of being appreciative rather than we often build our habit of stress. We often do the opposite, and we look at the news knowing it's going to stress us out. So I would say start with that internal work and really build the habit of the life you want to live now. Like, don't wait until you get something to where you feel it, because you're gonna have a pattern of stress. Even if you do get something that you want, you're still gonna be used to feeling that way. So build the habit of gratitude, build the habit of joy now, so that it emanates out of you and you are able to use it towards your purpose and passion.
That's some strong advice right there, man. Man, just like you just went in, man. Everybody needs to run that clip back. Just run that back for a few seconds and listen to what this man is saying. Like, build a habit. I love the fact that you touched on that, because it's I mean, not only did you say don't rely on external things to wait for something to happen to fill yourself up with it, but you're saying being proactive and getting the habit. I've never heard anybody phrase it quite like that. Like, get in the habit of being appreciative, get in the habit of feeling joy. Like, that's some strong advice, man. I need to work on those habits myself, man.
Bro, nah, I appreciate it. I'll tell you what, the book that really inspired that mindset for me was the Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza. That book, he speaks about like building, like how we naturally build the habit of stress and how that affects us. And so kind of turning it the opposite way is like building that habit of gratitude and elevated emotions, and like rewiring your body to feel that way. It's just like lifting a muscle. Lifting the weight in the gym. You can train your nervous system to feel certain emotions and kind of do certain things to really wire your body to feel that way. So, yeah, man.
Mm-hmm. I think that's huge, man, especially as athletes. And I experience this a lot too. And I'm sure you've experienced it, where it's easy to, like you said, you kind of get caught in that cycle where you tap into the inner athlete, you accomplish something, and then you get there, but you don't necessarily allow yourself to feel those feelings of pride or joy or gratitude for what it is that you've accomplished. So I'm going to heed your words, man. I'm going to really tap into the habit, focus on making it a habit of feeling those things around the clock, and not just, oh, I accomplished something, I should feel these feelings of joy, when I can just do that 24/7, man. So thank you, man. That hit me right here, bro. Appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, absolutely, man. I'm glad it resonated, man. It's all about empowering one another, I think that's the biggest thing, when we can really take control of our life, taking control of how we feel. That's the best way I know how, is to build the habit of feeling it, so awesome.
Absolutely, man. So what's next for Jelani Jenkins, man? I know the course just dropped on Monday, January 25th. I know you just started, kicked that off. Some good things already happening, but what can we expect in the future, man? What other things you got cooking on the horizon?
Yeah, man. Well, like you said, I'm super present. We got another 9 weeks of the course. I'm super present on that group. But ultimately, I want that to be something that continues to bring in new members into the community and continues to grow. Ultimately, I would like to have a football camp again. I know COVID is stopping these things from happening, so I'm gonna do some kind of summer virtual program and be able to really tap back into the youth again, because that was a big part of my my situation, was having those summer football camps. So I got to find a way to do that. But ultimately, man, just taking this right here and it just being on a much larger scale, whatever that looks like in the future. Like, the world is very interesting times, not knowing exactly how these things are going to look. Maybe that's a virtual event. But I see when I visualize my dream life, I see myself on a stage. I see the crowd, where I can't even see the back of the room. And I also see myself sitting at a book signing and signing autographs and stuff. I know we've talked about the book as well. So that is definitely on the horizon in 2021, is getting started on that and putting pen to paper. So
yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. That's awesome, man. Talk to me about the legacy, man, because you're already doing so much great work. You really just get warmed up. Like you said, you're gonna be on the big stage. You can't even see the back of the room. But when it's all said and done, man, when you leave this earth, what do you want the legacy of Jelani Jenkins to be?
Yeah, man, I really want people to leave behind, what I want to leave behind is for people to just feel empowered that they can do anything that they put their mind to. I think of what I want my children to know about their father is that they felt extremely empowered and extremely confident that if they put their mind to something, they can make it happen. That's what I want everyone who feels me to believe wholeheartedly.
Mm-hmm. That's strong, man. And that's crazy how you said earlier that all started with your pops, man. Shout out to Mr. Jenkins for that. Cause I was looking on your IG the other day, man. You had a video of him. I think it was you and Pop Warner, and he was yelling from the sidelines. I was getting fired up, man. I was ready to go. I felt like I could run through a brick wall listening to Papa Jenkins, man. He was going in on the sideline.
I'm telling you, bro. It was the biggest blessing. The biggest blessing. I feel super fortunate. So I got to give it back. You know. I know that I was blessed. I'm extremely blessed for that situation to have that kind of support. I know not everybody has that in that way. So I got to give it back.
That's what's up, man. Well, you're definitely doing a great job of doing that, brother. I want to be respectful of your time. I appreciate you coming on and sharing. I know anybody tuned in, whether it's the Power Story or Thrive After Sports, man, it's going to be a lot of lives touched by this one, including mine. So definitely appreciate you coming on and sharing, man. What's the best way people can get in contact with you, learn more about what you're doing, reach out, all that good stuff?
Yeah, man. IG is mightyKingJenkins.com. Well, not .com. Hold up. Just at mightyKingJenkins. I have a YouTube channel that I'm going to really be diving into even more so this year. YouTube.com/Jelani Jenkins 44. I have a website. It's currently mindbodysports.net. In about a month or so, we're going to get it to mindbodysports.org. So just keep typing that in if it's, that's where you can find me, man.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you again for coming on the sharing. We'll have all the info in the show notes. Everybody get in touch with Jelani, follow the journey, all that good stuff. It's been a pleasure, man. I'm looking forward to working on some more projects in 2021, like you said. And I'm just proud to be associated with you, man. You're doing some great work in the world. So
100%, man. Super proud of what you're putting together, man. I'm so happy that you've had me on the show, and I'm thankful to be in your circle, brother.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. Yeah. All right, everybody. This has been another great episode of Thrive After Sports and the Power of Story podcast with the man himself, Mr. Jelani Jenkins. We'll see you next time. Peace.